Hey everyone, Jesse with the Shuffle Bus, back with round one of the Ashteki Master Core Set tournament. So this was a tournament designed and set up by Dijon to kind of stress test the Ashteki interface, the cards that were in the master set, and look for any bugs that may occur for the purposes of trying to fix them. So my round one opponent is Under Rug Swept. My opponent lets me know when we start playing the game that he has played, I think, 1 or 2 games of Ashes. So very new player. Welcome to the community, Under Rug Swept. I hope you have an enjoyable time learning this game and getting through all of the early challenges that kind of come with learning it. But I decided early on, didn't know my opponent's total experience level, but I wanted to try one of the recon decks that had been posted on Ash's Plaid Hat's website. So I tried the Aradel Rhinos deck because we all know how much I love Rhinos, and wanted to see if I could play it in an aggressive style to a game win. So this will either be a really fast game or I'll just lose in a ball of fire. We weren't really sure exactly, and one of the things about these early round tournaments was that the base information, knowledge information for starting a game isn't known. So when you look at the starting point of this game, you'll see that I know my opponent's playing Cole. He knows that I'm playing, I think I'm playing Aradel, is what I said. Yep, sorry. And I can see his conjuration count, and that's about all I know. I don't know what dice colors he's playing, so I don't really know what to expect. I assume that possibly this is the Cole Precon, but obviously it could be a pre-constructed deck as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and stay on my plan of trying to play the Rhino and using Resummon to bring the Rhino back to some effect. So that's sort of our first 5 starting points. So we're just going to get the game started. You can see here I'm selecting my first 5. I get Butterfly Monk, and I get obviously Summon Iron Rhino, and I get Summon Sleeping Widows, I think. I'm trying to remember. There's the Resummon. And yeah, so we get 3 ready spells. I think it's Butterfly Monk.
4 basic dice to my 3. So
the Rhino, Resummon, and Hammer Knight.
All right.
So
no cards.
We start off, and it's starting with Under Rug Swept is the starting player, so he's going to get to play first here. And so we've got a pretty decent roll. This particular format doesn't need a ton of
yeah, man. So that's one of the first things. One of the first pieces of content.
I do have the Water Blast on board. My
co-host is such a huge Witcher
so I think
fan,
I can deal with it really.
He was like, "I got to play Geralt, right? Like to start, I just have to play Geralt." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
So we're just chatting right now. Overall,
it's so true.
Gonna see if I can listen in the conversation.
And gonna do this dice.
So Under Rug Swept drops the Hammer Knight right out of the gate. I think this is the kind of thing you want to maybe leave your opponent guessing a little bit on, but you could play a little slower, especially going first.
Started on trying to make a constructed deck out of the core card, so I used one of the ones that they put on the Plaid Hat website a couple of weeks back.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just giving it a go, but I'm not sure about it. I feel like my dice at least this dice roll is terrible.
That's what meditate's all for, man. Don't be afraid to be aggressive.
All right, so I'm just letting him know that early game you should actively meditate and not worry about it, because Reborn is fast enough as a game that you don't really have to worry too much about running out of deck in most games. It's very rare to run into real fatigue damage in the way Reborn plays with constructed lists. So I think we're just waiting, because with Ashteki, once you do a main side, then you have to hit the end turn to bring it over. So he goes ahead and drops a Chant of Revenge for his side action, comes back to me, and I have Summon Blue Jaguar. And I think I go ahead and play the Summon Blue Jaguar because I don't want to show him yet that I have the Rhino. And Summon Blue Jaguar is in the Precon list, so if he's played against Aradel Precon, then he knows that that's a thing. I go ahead and meditate to get one ceremonial prep to make my own Hammer Knight if I get to that point in the game. Just trying to have a small backup plan just in case the Iron Rhino plan falls through. So again, we play the Jaguar. And my opponent probably makes what I would call his first critical mistake. He sees a window to attack with the Hammer Knight, but I have a Jaguar, so it's possible that your best bet is to wait for me to summon Jaguar and then attack into the Jaguar as a removal tool, but he plays Strengthen and exhausts the Strengthen, which is a play mistake because you can't maintain the Strengthen beyond that turn. So he strengthens and then puts it on the Hammer Knight, but then the Hammer Knight obviously loses it right away. I think we catch it later, and I let him reverse it because I wasn't paying attention. So I go ahead and play Summon Iron Rhino, sort of show the hand at this point, if you will. So again, what's going to happen is he's going to attack with Hammer Knight with a strengthened Hammer Knight, and so I go ahead and Water Blast the Hammer Knight. This is sort of an unnecessary step here, but it does. I didn't need to actually use the Water Blast here. I think I just want to threaten him with the 2 nature dice I have up. So he attacks the Aradel, and we're going to catch here that so this is where he catches that he used the strengthen incorrectly. We adjust this. So we're gonna modify it. So I take the 5. I'm trying to make sure that a new player gets an opportunity to learn from his mistakes, but yet still see some advantages of how that's supposed to work. So we turn on the manual mode here, and we add 2 more damage. Sorry. All right. So the Water Blast was just a really inefficient use. There was no need to do that here. I could have saved it for literally anything else he played that would have a lower life total, because we're going to crush the Hammer Knight anyways now that it's exhausted with an Iron Rhino. So we sort of just had the opportunity to do whatever we needed to do, and that's that. All right, so since we played the Rhino, I think this is where we go ahead and summon the Rhino. We don't want to show the resummon plan yet because that gives our opponent too much time to react and try to kill the Rhino. I also think that, we just have to leave the other 2 up for the summon Iron Rhino. But see, if I'd have left the leaf up, the Water Blast leaf, I would have had the ability still to leave a ping damage up and threaten ping damage on the Hammer Knight or some other unit that comes into play, plus still have the Water Blast up for any other unit that he plays. Because he's down to 4 dice and 2 cards in hand, it's unlikely that I'm going to see a big unit here. but it's still possible that he's going to play a big unit. And he goes ahead and plays, I think this is a Mist Spirit. Yeah. And unfortunately, Mist Spirits are just not going to care about, like if you're, like, they can't block, like the Rhino just bypasses them, right? His gigantic bypasses the Mist Spirits. So they're not a really good call against Rhino. So we just attack directly into Cole here for 7 damage because we plan to resummon the Rhino. My opponent can't see that happening yet. And so we really want opponent to be out of cards. Like, we'll find out what the last card is here before we sort of give that impression. And we can still play Blue Jaguar and still play the Butterfly Monk. We just can't cast the Butterfly Monk. So, like, we can kind of slow play if he decides to cast Mist Spirits. Like, it's completely fine to do that. And we're going to... so I started doing the math. Like as we sit here, he plays 2 Mist Spirits. When I resummon the Rhino, if the Rhino gets resummoned, I just walk back into him for another 7 damage and then go top of the round. But if I go top of the round, his Hammer Knight's still alive. So I just go ahead and show the resummon now. I think there's less things for him to be able to do to my Rhino. So, okay, so he's currently active with a couple of Mist Spirits. He's got 2 dice left in hand. I think he drops a Butterfly Monk, which is also going to be not very great for resummoned Rhinos. So we go ahead and resummon the Rhino now. And that is going to put a ton of pressure on my opponent now. So one of the things I was thinking was, okay, if I attack the Hammer Knight, I get the overkill 2 damage. I do 9 to Cole, and if I do that, then I have just the opportunity to hit him to 9 here with the overkill, and then swing top around for 7 and win the game. And I think that's better than going right into the face and leaving the Hammer Knight up, and who knows what else he might be able to play. I'm able to go first, so probably doesn't matter which order you do this in, whether this is correct or not. Ultimately, it works out. So we're going to Rhino attack Hammer Knight, overkill 2 into Cole, leaving him with 2 Mist Spirits, and he can cast a Butterfly Monk. And I suppose if he... we're going to... So we go ahead and target the Hammer Knight here. Yep, he tries to attack the Rhino, but he can't get to it because I've got a guard available on Aradel. That would be one way he could try to exhaust the Rhino, but I would just not counter. So we're just waiting for him to pass turn back to us because he attacked with a Mist Spirit at the Rhino. I think he's just best at that point to swing and go take me to 7, but it's just not going to be enough. I've got too much tempo with a single Rhino against his board. Yeah, so I basically explained to him like my whole play, and that is just at using removal, and takes him to 9 through the overkill. Yeah, so the overkill does the work of what I needed to do. It's really interesting to see Rhino be so aggressive out of the gate, and whether or not an opponent can respond to that aggression is tricky. And I'm a really big fan of resummon as part of this sort of plan of something expensive like Rhino. I'm just explaining to him how the overkill damage worked. So he was asking if you can still guard with your Phoenixborn if it's exhausted, and I explained to him that you can. So again, we're just kind of in a learning game here with round 1, but I think there are good things to learn from that. And I really did play aggressive because I thought it would leave the biggest openings if my opponent had good answers, and I think he would have if he wouldn't have attacked with Hammer Knight early, because I think he would have been capable of potentially killing the Rhino through play Hammer Knight, play Mist Spirit, and then like just go ahead and like have the Hammer Knight attack into Rhino, and I have to decide if I'm going to have Aradel tank it. And so now, like as it sits, he can pay 1 life to bring back the Hammer Knight, but it's going to be too slow at this point. So I think he would have been better off like trying to attack my Rhino, seeing if my Aradel takes the hit from Hammer Knight. Particularly good if you strengthen it, because you're going to force me to definitely take the hit with Aradel, so you still get the same amount of damage in. And then you could play 2 butterfly or 2 Mist Spirits. Both Mist Spirits could attack, and then you would have to use your slash and your chant to kill the Rhino through Cole's side action ability. And I think that's okay. Like I think that would be a completely great way to deal with the Rhino. And I may not get second attack off that way, because the Rhino's a real problem for you if you don't have good removal. And there's just not a ton of great removal in this format, but there is some. So he could have also close combated if he'd have first 5 to close combat with Hammer Knight. There's lots of ways to sort of blow my play up and then put me in a position where like he still does 9 to me. So it's not like I was sitting on a ton of life like going into round 2. I was sitting on 7 life remaining going into round 2, same amount as him. Difference being is that I've got a Rhino that's just going to bypass his board and kill him at the top of round 2, and that ultimately is the difference maker here. And so I only had to play the Rhino to get this done. So I even discard my Hammer Knight just to get a larger board of things, because and there that finishes it. So again, fun, really aggressive list that can get blown up, and there is a more conservative way to play it, but I think it's really fun to watch some of these recon decks work, and I think they are very powerful if you spend the time to learn them, and they're great leaping off points. So if you're a new player, I would really consider over the pre-cons playing the recon decks that have been posted on Plaid Hat's site, because I think the player base has done a great job of sort of pushing that extra level of value into the deck, so that the decks do have a purpose and have a plan and have a proactive plan, and so that they really do sort of fight each other really well. And I think that if that was the case, I mean, Rhino's in a lot of trouble in many scenarios. So, but that's going to do it for round 1. thank you, Under Rogue Swept, for being my opponent and being a great sport. And welcome again to the Ashes community. We'll be back very soon with more of this tournament coverage, as well as more information on how to use Ashkteki and all of those good things. If you enjoy our content, nothing is more appreciative to us than even hitting that thumbs up button. If you really love our content, please hit the subscribe button. It just helps us know that we're putting things out that you're enjoying and want to watch. And then we will be back with more Ashkteki coverage and more different Ashes coverage, as well as we're starting to construct a tournament here the 1st of March for Ashes Reborn. That'll be a fixed deck tournament, so we'll start to kind of hone in on the entire Reborn card pool and some of the meta. Thanks again. I hope everybody stays safe and be good to each other. Take care.